Ilu Nishmas, Esther Bashat Shmuel Yitzchak, Ari's mother. No, she left over a darim of Bnei Torah, Eiskim Torah mitzvahs, and just good people. Shamash and Aliyah. Okay, yes, we saw something interesting halacha. We saw that we know the share of all these surim, or is kazayas. The share is kazayas. Chaylev is kazayas. Pigel is kazayas. Noises kazayas. Nevela is kazayas. If you want to be over in this Torah, you have to drink eat a kazayas. But Yom Kippur is different. Yom Kippur, there was a share that's even more than a kazayas. Yom Kippur was a share word of a keseves. And what was a keseves? We said a keseves is a date with its pit. And we said that it's less than a beitza. We saw yesterday that it's less than a beitza. Well, yes, why is that different? Why is there a share of keseves? He says because by Yom Kippur, it doesn't say you can't eat. It says there's a din le'suneh, right? You can't, you have to pain yourself. And keseves, we have the chachamim, kimul chachamim, that the kazayas, while it will go ahead and you'll eat, it's considered an achila, it won't satiate, it won't go ahead and take the edge off. Okay, seves, that amount will take the edge off. That's what we saw yesterday. We have a continuation of that today, a very much shiurim, seves, and different discussions. I thought it appropriate to go ahead and remind us of the Gemara as an introduction and a question, to give us a kind of framework for understanding the Gemara that's going to follow, because it's a big question on the Gemara. Says the Gemara the following in Erev and Daf Daled. Says the Gemara that Amrav Chiva Rashi Amrav Shiurim Chatzitzin Umechitzin Halacha L'Moshe Sinai. Shiurim, the halachas of Chatzitza, and the halacha of Mechitza is Halacha L'Moshe Sinai. And in the context of Erevin, we're really interested in the Mechitza part. But for our purposes, we're interested in the share part. Fred the Gemara Kasha. Fred Shiurim Deraisahu. Shiurim are not Halacha L'Moshe Sinai. It's not a Mesorah. It's State and Torah. What is it saying in the Torah? Eretz Chito So'ira Zeitz Shemen Seino Rimoin Eretz Zeit Shemen with Vash. And each one of those fruits went ahead and they symbolize something. We said that the if you go into a house of a Mitzorah, how long do you have to stay in there till your clothing? We said that's the share of a pras, that's the share from Chita. And we said the share of Sa'oirin will be the etzem kisa'oira. We said that's metama, oil. Gefen is revius yain nazir. Te'ena is a groigris, the share for Shabbos, is the share of a dried fig. Rimoin is a kli that is, if it's tamei, if it gets the size of a rimoin, it's considered broken, or it's ice kli. Eretz Shem and Dvash. Eretz shekol shiurim kazesim. Says kol shiurim sakdaydach. I could say all the others. Sharoiv shiurim kazesim. Dvash. Now, Devash, guys, does not mean bees honey. Devash means date honey. And Devash is Kseves Hagasel Yom Kippurim. That's Kseves Hagasel Yom Kippurim. So, L'chaira, the Gemara has a kasha there. How can you tell me it's Allah L'Mosh Sinai? In fact, it's a pasuk. So, the Gemara concludes it's Allah L'Mosh Sinai, and the Chachamim found a smach for the halacha l'moshe Sinai. Usually, an asmachta usually is a derabbanan dikadin, and the rabbanan found a source in the Torah to substantiate what they said. Over here, it's halacha l'moshe Sinai, and we find an allusion to it in the Torah. We find a similar thing by Sanhedrin. That we know there are Zion mitzvahs b'nei Noach, and we say by Savashem l'kim alodam leima mekol. That's and we find an allusion to the Zion mitzvahs b'nei Noach in the pasuk. Not that pasuk creates the Zion mitzvahs, but it's an allusion to that they exist. So too over here it exists. And Mela, if I would ask you what is shiur deraisa, you'd say shiur deraisa, correct? You would say all shiur are deraisa. Says the Gemara. We're on Ayin Tes on the base, the last line, Tanya, Rabbi Yomer, base Amid Aleph, Kol HaShiurim Kulon the Kazayas, all Shiurim, all of them are with the Kazayas. All the Shiurim that we say regarding Achila, the share is Kazayas, Chutz mi Tumas Eichlin, with the exception of Tumas Eichlin. To tell me that you transfer that, what you can transfer, Makabal Tuma, transfer Tuma, Achloikas, whether it's only in Kabbalah or transferring, but the share is there, is a Beitza. And how do we know that? Is Sheshinu Akosa b'mashma'an, because the pasuk goes ahead and changes from the norm. V'shinu chachamim b'shiurin, And as a result of them changing from the norm, the Chachamim knew you don't go after the normal share. You don't go after the Kazayas. You go after the Kaisevis. Why is that? Because it doesn't say, it's Mishana, it doesn't say Achila. Now, the Rayel Dav is Yom Kippur. My Shina Kasiv Mashmo, where's the Shina by Yom Kippur that you know that you take it out of the Mashmois? Guys, here's the implication. Even though all over the share is Kazayas, by Yom Kippur, since the Lashon of the Torah is different, the Chachamim knew that the share is different. Now they said two places. They said by Tumas Eichlin and they said by Yom Kippur. So the Gemara wants to know right away, where is the Shina by Yom Kippur? My Shina at Kosev b'Mashmo by Yom Kippur, that they knew to change the share, and it says Miloi Su'une. It doesn't say anything about Achila. It says Miloi Su'une. If you're not ma'ani yourself, guys, if you're not make yourself uncomfortable in Yom Kippur, you eat, you chayv kares. Umay shinu chachamim b'shiureha. And how are they mashana? After this hint, the hint that it said le'su'une, how they know to go ahead and be mashana? On that it says kaseves, that the shir is the kaseves. Umay raya l'dava Yom Kippur, pirish. Why do you have to jump to Yom Kippur to go ahead and tell me a difference? Why don't you tell me the difference by Tumas Eichlin? You just began by telling me there's a Shina by Tumas Eichlin, and you brought a raya from Yom Kippur. Forget the raya from Yom Kippur. Go directly. So says the Gemara, the Ime Hasam Hava Amina Dekrahu. Tumas Eichlin, Kibetz. Okay, now, what does it say by Tumas Eichlin? Guys, it says, Mikola Eichel Asher Yochal. Now, it just should say, Mikola Asher Yochal. Whatever you eat and touches Tumas Tameh. It doesn't say that. Mikola Asher Ha'ochel Asher Yochel. So we had an extra word, the word ochel is there. So I would have thought that what? That urcha de milsa, just like it says kol mashka sheishasa. It's just, I would say it's just the style of the pasuk, so it's not so muchrich that it's a shinoi. Kamashman leisuuna, where clearly it's a shinoi. Leisuuna clearly is a shinoi, and memela just like amigala, like by Yom Kippur. Leisuuna is a shinoi, and since it's mishan in the pasuk, it's mishan in the share of kazayis. Who din by Eichlin, I'll say, Mikola Eichel Asher Yochel, the word Ochel is a Shinoi, and therefore it's a Beitza and not a Kazayas. Good? Now, my kash on this whole sugi, which I don't understand, is we just said Shiur Malach L'Mashne Sina, right? And now Chacham are going ahead. What's going on over here? It was bothering me so much. Like, I just read you a Gemara, before a Gemara, right? Saying Gemara, Halach Mashne Sina. For the Gemara, it's a Pasuk, and for the Gemara, the Pasuk is an Asmachta. And then a Chachamim are basically saying, well, the Mashmois is this, I'll go over here, I'll go over there, I'll go over there. What's Pshat? So I was learning today with my son, Baruch Hashem. I had this kasha. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning over there, and he calls me up. I found an answer. It's the Maris Chiyatz, and it's on your phones, and it's going to be on your screen here in a second. Listen to this Maris Chiyatz. Again, guys, what's the kasha? How can you tell me the Chachamim? How can you tell me the Chachamim are saying, well, we switched it around, so therefore we'll give it a different switch? It's halacha mashmi Sinai. It's state. In other words, there's a Messiah that Yom Kippur is a Kaiseves. There's a Messiah that Tumas Eichlin is a Beitza. Where the Chachamim coming in here? Remember, you had a kasha. It's a Gavaldic kasha, right? It's a Pasha kasha that screams out, go ahead and answer. Says the Maritz Chiyas, V'shina Chachamim b'shiurin, nira be'enai, kvar kasafti b'sifri, b'toras neviim, umatzasi smuchen l'zebi Yerushalmi, reish peah, the afal gav the chol shiurim halacha misinai, even though all the shiurim halacha l'mash misinai, hainu inyone hashiurim. That's the matter of the shiurim. For example, l'shaya be'adosha, that there's such a share of a lentil bean. Kizayis, there's such a share of an olive size. Kaiseves, a date. Groigris, a fig. Kebetza, an egg. In other words, the halacha Moshe Sinai is these exist. That these are, in other words, halacha Moshe Sinai, there's something called the kaiseves, something called the groigris, something called the betza, something called these all exist. The gazayas. Aval chiluk hashiurim ezel l'shir malchus ba'achilas iser ve'ezel lebal yirah bal yimatzel ve'ezel yom kippur ve'ezel l'tuma davazeh masra Torah l'chachamim. In other words, the halacha Moshe Sinai guy says it exists. It doesn't say where do you apply it to. In other words, maybe kazayis is Yom Kippur, maybe a kaisevis is tuma, maybe a beitza is achila. We don't know which to apply it to. The halacha Moshe Sinai is there's A, B, C, D, and E, but you don't know where you're going to go ahead and put it. That's what the Marachia is saying. Ve'ezel l'tuma davazeh ma'asrat Torah l'chachamim. Ve'heim asu achilukim kefi hechrich taitam, and they figured it out according to the hachra. K'moy b'yom kippur, the chamim the batzim mekaseres mehachal lemeis v'daite. Like kimlu l'rabbanan, guys. That what? That a kazayis is not going to do the job. Kimlu l'rabbanan, in order to have yishuv adas to take away the edge off kaseves memela. Oh, kimlu l'rabbanan. Boom, we're going to apply kaseves to Yom Kippur. Right. V'zeh klal gadol b'Torah. And with this, you'll understand all the sugyas hashas. What a wonderful piece, guys! What a wonderful, wonderful piece, right? It's really an eye. It's an eye opener. It's an eye opener. The Allah Mashmisinai says these shurim exist. There's such a thing called a zayas. There's such a thing called a beitza. There's such a thing called a gregris and a kaiseves. But where those things apply to, that was given to the chachamim. And now the Gemara is very geschmack. We said yesterday. Kaiseves, achila, right? We said, no, kim chachamim. That what? That the kazayis isn't going to do the job. A kaiseves will do the job, and therefore they knew that the locha mashmisin of kaiseves applied back to Yom Kippur. It's a very nice martzchis, yeah.
So you say these sure when you talk about Torah says the kaiseves is an eye, but we don't know what it's applied to.
Torah didn't say anything. Right. We don't know what it applied to. Exactly. And now the Chachamim are saying exactly where it applies to. It's a beautiful, guys, a beautiful piece. Beautiful piece. Very nice. Yeah. Okay, very good. Always good to see it inside, you know?
Yep, it's a few lines, but it's powerful.
Yeah. Okay. So now very geschmack. So now Tumas Eichlin Kibet Seminalan. Should I share you on the screen?
No.
What? Anyway, it's geschmack, guys, right? So now what's the next line of Gemara? Tumas oichlin kibetza minalan. How do you know tumas is kibetza? You know, it's geschmack. Like you want to fit in the. How do you know to apply the halacha mishmisinai of beitza to tumas oichlin? That'd be a new way to look at it, guys. You here? How would you know, Yankel? You here? How do you know to apply the din of beitza to tumas oichlin? Right. It says so. Amar v'amar says Amakra. It says mikala oichel asher yochel. Now, oichel haba machmas oichel. Food that comes as a result of food. The ezeh, beitza is tarnagolis. You have a tarnagolis is food, and a beitza is food, right? So obviously, it must be applied to that. For the Gemara of Eima Gedi, so there goes up shot. We throw it out the window. Eima Gedi. Let's say oichel machmas oichel. So let's say it's a goat, a kid. A kid comes from food, right? A mother goat gives birth to a kid. Says mechusa shchita. That's not an oichel yet. It's mechusa shchita, and therefore it's not called an oichel, guys. The shear would be a goat. The shear would be a goat, right? The shear of tumas oichel will be a kid. A kid. I mean, I think the Hagdol Torah V'Yad the Gemara. I mean, you know, based upon what we just said, you know, we have Shiur Malach Hamesh Sinai. There's no such thing called a goat. Right. Now, guys, listen. So what's the answer? It's mechusa shchita. Since it's mechusa shchita, it's not called an oichel. Mikola oichel asher yochel. It's not called an oichel. The mela, it can't be going on a goat because the goat is not considered food yet. Fred Gemara, okay, I'll give you something that's not mechusa shchita. Ve'im ben pakua. A ben pakua. Let's say it's going on a ben pakua. That's mitama tumas eichlin. That's mitama tumas eichlin. Says the Gemara, it's also you can't eat toy and kriya. You have to rip it open to get rid of the blood. In other words, you don't have a shchita problem on a ben pakua, but you have a dam problem, and therefore it's not considered ochel. Same teretz. Fred Gemara ve'ema bitzas bar yuchni. Bar yuchni seems to be a big bird, right? Big bird. So it seems to be a big bird. That the egg of a big bird. Why do you take the egg of a chicken? Take the egg of a big bird. I guess it must be a kosher bird. Says Gemara, tafas the meruba like tafas the mut tafas. We have a rule in Shas. When you go ahead, it's a rule in life, Bemis. You know, you be satisfied a little bit. Don't go for the gold. You know, don't grab too much. Ve'ema biyasa tzipurta, dezuta tuva. Okay, I won't be tafas the meruba. I'll be tafas the muta. Get a little bird, a little sparrow, little egg, and that'd be a tremendous chumrah. That tumas oichlin would be that share, and the Gemara doesn't answer that. So now this was said over Rabbi Vo, same name of Rabbi Lazar. This was Rabbi Vo, the name of Rabbi Lazar, and now Rabbi Vo Didei Amar. Rabbi Vo himself says, Rabbi Vo Didei Amar Mikola Oichel Asher Yochel, all oichel that you eat, oichel shata oichle bevas achas, the double lashon oichel that you could eat as once. V'shirur chachamim ein beis habliya machzik yosim beis satanikas. Guys, this is the one that appears in Shas. This is the one that appears in the Sfarim. That the kimlu the chachamim, guys, again, the chachamim mishayir that in your throat, what your throat can hold is the size of a chicken egg, and therefore it says oichel asher yochel, the double lashon could fit two that oichel, that v'vas achas that you can swallow. It's going on a chicken egg. Okay, so that's the din of shiur. So din of shiur. Now, fascinating Gemara. Amr Rabbalasa, ha'oichel chaylev bisman hazeh. Let's say le'aleinu chas v'shalom. You eat. You had this piece of steak. He said, "I never tasted such a good steak in my life. It was fatty. It was juicy." He said, "It's unbelievable. It even looked a little different." And then you get a sign from your local butcher. We apologize. A terrible thing happened. We served the steak. We served T-bone steak, and there was chaylev in there, and obviously we were over in Nissa. So what do? What? Bench. Okay, I asked this stupid question. I knew I was going to get something like that. I set myself up. Okay, what do? So you take a petek and you write down, Eliezer Stern. Eliezer Stern. I went ahead and I ate chaylev and chayiv a carbon. Okay, that's what you do. You write down the amount you ate. Why? Shema yavai bezdin acher. Maybe a bezdin will come along. V'yarba b'shiureh, and make up a larger share. They'll come along and they'll make up a larger share. Now, what do you mean they'll make up a larger share? If they made up a larger share, then you're off the hook. So it must be they made a smaller share, and you're on the hook. So what do you mean Yabba B'shurim? The lashon is kind of funny. So let's see Rashi. Okay, well, there's no Rashi yet. Now, says the Gemara. Shema Yabba Besdin Achav Yabba B'shurim. Now, my Yabba B'shurim, listen. If they're going to mechayiv you a carbon on a smaller kazayas and you ate a larger amount, so you chayiv vatanya asher lo seyasena bishkaga ve'ashem hashav midiyasay maybe carbon al shigagasay lo yishav midiyasay a maybe carbon al shigagasay. Guys, let me tell you this outside, and then we'll see it inside. Good, guys. We saw this in Masechta Shabbos in Perikal Gadol. Guys, listen up. You have a guy who's a Russia Marusha. He's a Jew, he's a Russia Marusha. He eats tarfis all the time. And one day he thinks he's eating kosher food. And so lo and behold, he realized he ate chaylev. He's a shaygig on the chaylev. If he would have known that it was chaylev, would he have eaten it anyway? Yeah. He definitely doesn't bring a carbon on a shaygig. Hashav mi the yasai. Someone who would do tshuva, who would refrain when he finds out it's not kosher, that's the one who brings a carbon. Somebody who does not bring a carbon. So now, Eliezer Stern, in the year 2021, Tav Shem Pei Aleph, I ate a kizayas of chaylev. Less than a kizayas. In other words, I'm off the hook. Comes along the Chachamim, and they go ahead and say, you know what? We came up with a new share, and the share that you ate at that time was what? Chayev. Now it's chayev. Now, would I refrained earlier? Al chatzi share, I would have refrained, let's say. But al etzim, in bringing a carbon, chatzi share, you're not going to bring a carbon on. In other words, Hashavmi diyasai means I wouldn't do it at all because it's an etzim isser. But over here, if you're telling me that at the time I did it, I'd be pata because the share is not the share. And the chacham are only machadish later on the share. That's not a shamid the yasai. I won't be chayiv a carbon. So why in the world am I writing it down? In other words, right now at this point in time, when I did the aveira, I'm not chayiv to being a carbon because I didn't need to share. I'm writing it down because the chum I'm going to mechadish later on. That's not considered a shamid the yasai. It's not enough to mechayiv me a carbon. Chatzi shared says the Taisus Rosh is not enough to mechayiv me a carbon. I wouldn't have beaten chaylev because it's chatzi share, but I wouldn't be mechayiv carbon on chatzi share. So therefore, it's not considered a shamid the yasai, and memela what I won't be chayiv. So Fred the Gemara, that can't be the case. So why am I writing it down? You understand? I can't write it down. Doesn't make any sense. Let's see it inside now. The lashon. Fred Gemara. Name of the mechayiv carbon akazayis cotton. If you're going to tell me a mechayiv carbon on a smaller share than what I ate, Vatanya, Asher lo say a sen of the pasuk says that by Kohen Mashiach. Asher lo say a sen bishkago v'yashem hashav midi yasai. If someone would refrain from doing it when he finds out, maybe carbon al shigdasai. He brings the carbon on a shageg. Lo yishav midi yasai. A person who wouldn't refrain from doing it when he finds out, maybe carbon al shigdasai. So therefore, I want to refrain because again, it's not the fullest share, and therefore that can't be the case. Ella dolay mechayev carbon ad the achul kazayis gadol. So in other words, we're doing this is to stop a problem, right? I ate a kazayis. Good. I'm a chayev a carbon. I write down the amount. In the future, they come and they go ahead and say what? What do they say? Larger amount you put up, right? So I have to know because why? Because I don't want to be chulim the azara. I'm going to be mechayiv myself on what I did b'shas I ate in 2021. And then when the Beis Hamikdash is built, I'm going to go ahead and bring it on that. The chum going to say, no, you don't bring a carbon on that. That's chulim b'azara. So that's why I have to write it down. You don't write it down to be mechayiv. You write it down to be pata, to get off the hook. Ulamite now. So that'd be a good reason. Now, what's the lashon of marbe b'shurim? Ulamite is talking about the mechayiv carbon akazayis cotton, and have a meaning that was. I'm writing it down. What to mechayiv me? My yarbe b'shurim. It should say yimayit b'shurim. It should say. And for Gemara, shema yarbe b'karbonos machem b'shurim. What does it mean? Maybe you'll increase the carbon machem b'shurim. Now, there's a great kasha here, guys. What carbon are you bringing? When are you bringing it? When do you bring it? When Mashiach comes, right? Where are you going to be when Mashiach comes? Before that, ostensibly you're going to be dead, right? Chata Shemesa Ba'aleha.
You didn't separate.
One of the five. Chata Shemesa Ba'aleha.
You didn't separate.
I mean, Achiv Chatas. I'm saying Chata Shemesa Ba'aleha. So if you look at Rashi, guys, Rashi says one line. Rashi. Now, could be not. Could be. V'hachi kamar, he named it mechayev carbon akazayis cotton. V'hachi kamar, ha'ichel pachas mikazayis bizman hazeh, yichted kisher zeh achalti, shema yibona beis hamikdash b'yamav. Why is Rashi shema bona beis hamikdash b'yamav? Because if it's not bona b'yamav, we're not talking about that. You're dead. The whole shaila is what? When? It's only when it should be built now. Okay, great. Okay, very good. Fight them. Rabbi Yochanan, Shiurim v'Einshin halacha l'mashmi Sinai. Shiurim and Einshin, mashma two separate entities, are halacha l'mashmi Sinai. Fred the Gemara, Einshin is halacha l'mashmi Sinai. Einshin michtav ksivi. You look in the Torah, you have your Einish, right? Chenek, Hereg, Skilas, Sreifa. Halachi kamar. Here's where you read it. Shiurim shel Einshim halacha l'mashmi Sinai. The shear that you chayiv for Einish is halacha l'mashmi Sinai. That's very geschmack, right? That's the Maris Chiyas. Halacha l'mashmi Sinai. That's the shear you chayiv on. Tanya namihachi shiurim shel Einshim halacha l'mashmi Sinai. Acherim say Beis Dina shel Yavitz tiknum. The bezdin of Yavitz from betakin the shiurim. Fred Gemara v'ksiv Eila mitzvah shein navi v'shel lechadish dava meyata. Right? No. After Moshe Rabbeinu, there's no new in town. Asnil ben Kenaz was the son-in-law of Kalev. He married Achsa, Ella, Shopkum v'chazav v'yastam. Forgotten, he brought them back. Okay, here's the background. Guys, here's the background. Moshe Rabbeinu, before he died, spoke to Yeshua bin Nun and said, Yeshua, is there anything we should chazer, anything go over that you know, that you don't know? He goes, Rabbi, what?
I know it all.
It's machlokes. Anyway, so he said Yeshua, Rebbe, I never left your side. I never left you whatsoever. I never left you. So what do you mean? So he said, Moshe had chalishas hadas. Moshe felt bad. And what? And there were 1,700 halachas forgotten. Said the people wanted to kill Yeshua. That was the people who cared. They wanted to kill Yeshua. And it says Asnil ben Kenaz brought them back. He brought back his halacha Moshe Sinai. So therefore, the Acherim that says the Beis Din of Yavitz was metaking them, he's saying that was the halacha Moshe Sinai. He brought back the halacha Moshe Sinai. I'm just thinking, very derech Musa machshava. Moshe Rabbeinu feels bad. Moshe Rabbeinu. A mensch is a mensch. A mensch is nit a malach. The biggest person in the history of the world wasn't a malach. In ways, he was bigger than a malach, but in nature, he was a human being. Nature was a human being. You see how sensitive you have to be. And also, a person has to feel valued. Think about it. Why did he tell him, Rabbi, I never left your side. I know everything. There's no reason. Moshe felt bad. Moshe felt he wasn't needed anymore. Think about it. It's a tremendous masasa. Okay, what was the share of Keseves was the date with this, that was Achila. What about Shtia? Shtia is a shoyse moli loigmav. Someone who drinks, guys, moli loigmav is 2 cheekfuls. Now, Pasha Pshat, 2 cheekfuls is more than a revius. 2 cheekfuls is more than a revius. 1 cheekful is less than a revius. 1 cheekful is roiv revius, is a majority. It's a majority of revius, okay? So now, says the Gemara, Hashoyse mali lugvav, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Loi mali lugvav mamish, you don't need 2 cheeks, Elako shilu yisal kenel tzad echad. It should be able to move it to one side. The yira kamali lugmav, and it appears it appears like it's mali lugmav. We didn't say kim mali lugmav, we said mali lugmav. We didn't say like, we said mali lugmav. And for the Gemara, ema kim mali lugmav. Say kim mali lugmav. Don't say mali lugmav, say kim mali lugmav. Meisive, kama yishtav yechayev. How much do you have to drink in Michayev? Beishama Yom Revius. Beishama is more machmir. He says a Revius will do you in on Yom Kippur. Beis Hillel loimim malei logmav. Beis Hillel says what? What's the share? Malei logmav. So the kasha guys from Beis Hillel, right? It doesn't say Beis Hillel doesn't say kim malei logmav. He says malei logmav. Rabbi Yehuda oimer mishum ebel Eliezer kim malei logmav. He says malei kim malei logmav. Rabbi Yehuda mesei rama kidei gemiyah the share to swallow. Now, you have a kasha from Beis Hillel. It doesn't say Kimali, it says Malay. And for the Gemara, Mi Adifim Masnisan, is this Brisa any stronger than a Mishnah? To a Kimna that when it said the words Kimali Lagmav, we said Kideshi Yirah, that it appears if it's Mali Lagmav. I mean, this Brisa, Kideshi Yirah, it appears that it's Mali Lagmav. For the Gemara, if you're telling me that Beis Hillel says Kimali Lagmav, Hainu Rabbi Elazar, that's the same word as Rabbi Elazar, Kim Ali Lagmav. Because he said, Rabbi Elazar just said afterwards, Rabbi Yehuda said name Rabbi Elazar, Kim Ali Lagmav. He says, Mekabinayu is Mali Lagmav Dachok. The Nachmina would be a Mali Dachok. Let's see Rashi in this. Right? Im Kain, the Beis Hillel Machayeh B'chtesh Yisal Keno Havlei Batzim Revius. Okay, that's the next one. No, the one before. It could be now Kimali Lagmav Dochok. The Beis Hillel beinin Kadeshi al Kenel Tzad Echad. Beis Hillel, you physically have to be able to move it. The Yira Kimali Lagmav, it should compare as if it's a cheekful. The Revach, the Belazar Kimali Lagmav Dochok, it's a smaller share. He's more Elias L'char is more machmir. Now, in Cain, Havilei Mikula Beis Shammai Mechulim Beis Hillel. Fellas, Kimali Lagmav is less than Revius. So let Beis Hillel Yechayev on Yom Kippur less than a Revius. Beis Shammai says Yechayev on a full Revius, right? So L'choira Beis Hillel is more machmir, and we know that what Beis Shammai is always the machmir, and we list a few places that Beis Hillel is more machmir. Maskal Rav Ashi in Cain Havilei Mikule Beis Shammai u'Mechurim Beis Hillel. So why isn't it listed? So Amalei. So Rabbi told him Ki Itchel Ba'oig Melech Habashin Itchel. When we said in the Beis Medrash Mali Lagmav, what were we speaking about? We were speaking about a big guy. We're speaking about a big guy with big cheeks. That's more than a Revius. So Beis Hillel is more Mako. He's more Mako. Maskal Rabbi Zera, Maishna Achila, the Kol Chad V'Chad B'Koseves, U'Maishna Shtia, the Kol Chad V'Chad B'Didei. Great kasha, guys. Guys, listen to this kasha. By Yom Kippur, by Achila, we have a universal share. No matter how big you are, no matter how rotund you are, no matter how robust you are, no matter what type of appetite you have, it doesn't make a difference. The share is universal. It's Koseves. It's the share, right? Okay, Koseves. By shtia, it's relative to the individual. Whatever my cheekful is not the same as yours is not the same as his. Why? By achila, we have a universal share, and by shtia, do we have a relative share, relative to the individual? As I read the Gemara. Amalei Abaya, Kimlu Rabbanon, this Geshmakas, right now when it says Kim, you understand the sugya. Kimlu Rabbanon, they uptouched it, right? In other words, there was the share of Mali Lagmav, and they Kimlu Rabbanon, because Seves, the Bahachi Mes V'daite. Rabbanon said, like Koseves, that's enough to go ahead and be Mesa Das. But Hachi, less than a Koseves, Lay Mes V'daite. It's not going to go ahead. Lay Mitzvah, it's not going to satiate. It's not going to take the edge off. Bishtia, Bididei Mes V'daita. But shtia depends individually on the individual, right? On the individual. There's the shtia guys. There's a Rashi in Memtes, some base in Sukkah. We're going to see that shtia achila goes after hanos in the mayav. In other words, at which point in time on Yom Kippur are you chayiv? This is a shayla in the paiskim. We are chayiv when it's in our mouth for achila. If you eat you don't have to swallow it. Hanos goyrin is going to do the job for chiyav isser. But for Yom Kippur, where you need mesiv daita, we're going to paskin that you need hanos meyav. Know when it's down in your stomach. Good. By shtia, you satiated not when it gets to your stomach, guys. When it's in your throat. The male is very geschmack. Each person you can go after the throat. You can go after the size of their mouth because that's where the point of satiation takes place. So therefore, that's relative. Now, a Zaita question. You're telling me every person in the world is a Koseves, even Oik? It should be nothing for him. I mean, Oik Melech means Lav Dafka Oik. Means a big guy. Yeah. There's my guy. Number 77. It's a big boy uncle. Yeah? I think he would eat a little bit. He's 6'7", 370 pounds, easy.
Koseves wouldn't do it.
A Koseves would not do it, no. So, Amalei Abaya, Kilu Rabbanon, the Mahachi Mes V'daita, Batzim Yachalei Mes V'daita. You hear this? Guys, you hear this? That's it. In other words, no matter what size you are, to take the edge off, that's not considered Inui anymore, a Koseves will do the job despite your size, no matter what your size is. Miu Kuli Alma Tuva, right? The whole world, it's going to take a shorter time, and he'll take with a lot, and he'll take a little to Mesadite. Maskal Rav Zera, Basa Shamein, Bikaseves, the Lulve Gafanim Bikaseves. Now, we said different type of person. What if different type of food? Different type of food. What about different type of food? You're going to tell me that the same size of different types of food would universally be the same? I guess Basa Shamein, I would think, is Meis V'daita on a smaller share, or Lula Gefanim, the shoots of Gefanim would take a larger share. Amalei no, Kim Lula Rabbanon, the Bahachi Meis V'daita, Batzim Yachalei Meis V'daita, Miu Basa Shamein Tuva, Lula Gefanim Purta. Okay. Maskal Rava, Kezayis B'chtei Achilas Pras, Ukeseves B'chtei Achilas Pras. The share of the over and Issa of Kezayis, the longer takes a loaf of bread, right? And the same thing by Koseves, which is a larger share. More than, in other words, even a Koseves, more than the share of Achilas Pras. Okay, now there's a share by the Pasal de Gevia, fellas. Usually a person, food can be metama of the person. But the Rabbanon, Pashas the Rabbanon, is that when a person eats tummy dika food, right, the Chatzi Pras, a 2 eggs, a Pras is 4 eggs, this is 2 eggs, you can't eat trumi afterwards. You can't eat trumi. So says the Gemara. Side question. Maskal Rava. B'chtei achilas pras. Chatzi pras b'chtei achilas pras. Okay, seves is a chilas pras and chatzi pras for the chilas pras. Only a papa hanachut tumah kifiyah. Leave alone tumah of the body. The love the raisahi. Furthermore, me amar papa hachi vaksiv like tamu behem tamtam bum. So you see, it's the raisa. Or a papa mikansha tumas kifiyah the raisa. And if we're going to midrabanon, cross machta ba'alma. So here's the difference between that smachta we spoke at earlier and this asmachta. Kala oichlin amar papa oichel umtza umilcha. If you eat umtza, if you eat raw meat, umilcha that's salted, mitzaref, it'd be mitzaref to the share of a kaiseves. The salt would push you over the top. The afik of the lava chilahi, even though the salt itself is not something edible, even the achli inish mitzarefin, since people eat it together, it's mitzaref to the share of kaiseves. Amrei shlokas, tzir shel gabe yerek, the juice of a vegetable that comes out of the vegetable, mitzaref the kaiseves b'yom kippur. Says in a pshito. So the Ma'adu Tema Mashka, I think it's a Mashka. We said in the Mishnah, since Mashka is Mali Logmav and food is Kaiseb, it's not Mitzdarif, Kamash Balon, Kol Achshuri Ochlo Ochlo. Anything that's Machshur and Eichel is considered part of the Eichel. Amrei Shlakish, Eichel Achila Gasav Yom Kippur. This is, somebody asked the other day about food that you don't like when you be over. Let's say Erev Yom Kippur, you stuff your face. Erev Yom Kippur, you stuff your face. You are so zat, you're machmir. It's a mitzvah Yom Kippur, and you're machmir l'chal hidurim, right? You eat it. And now by night you can't take it and you eat. And you're stuffed as anything. And now you're eating. Right? You be potter. Oichel achilas gasim kippah, potter. My timer. It says ashelo su'unek siv, prat lamazik. It said leisuna, prat lamazik. If you're eating much, you can get sick. That's not considered achila to go ahead and be machayev me. Amar Rabbi Yomi Yoma Shlakish, zar shoichel truma, achila gasa. Now a zar that eats truma, fellas. A zar that eats truma, the shogeg is chayev a keren v'chomish. He has to pay the amount of the truma and an additional fifth, which is really a quarter. So what happens? But he eats so much, right, that he's sick. So mishalim es a keren, he pays the keren. Ve'ina mishalim es a chomish, but he doesn't pay the chomish. Why? Because why? Kiyoichal. It says kiyoichal prat lemasik. So here it damages him. It's not considered achila. So it's extending the din from Yom Kippur to achilas truma. We're gonna make it to the Mishnah. Amar Rav Yirmiyah, Amar Rav Yochanan. Zor shekaises sa'irim. A zor that chews sa'irim. Rashi says kol davar shu oichlei shloi kederech achilasa. If you don't eat it in its normal way, kairei kaises. That's called chewing. So you chew barley, shel truma. Mishalim es a keren and mishalim es a chomish. Why? Kiyoichal prat lemasik. Amar Rav Shizvi, Amar Rav Shizavi, Amar Rav Yochanan. Okay, Amar Rav. I guess it's really a play on word. Amar Rav Shizavi, Amar Rav Yochanan. Zor shebola shizafim. A zor that swallows shizafim. Look at Rashi. Zay shizafim. It says prunes. You see it? Prunes balaz. Shebola beloy ksisa. It says it's probably plums. So you swallow it, but you don't go ahead wide and you don't chew it. You kia and then you regurgitate it. For achlan acher, and then the person comes along and eats it. Rishon mishalim keren v'chaimish. It was truma. The first one pays keren v'chaimish, and sheni mishalim elu demei eitzim l'rishon bilvad. Now he doesn't pay the kohen at all. The first person who swallowed the guy's kohen it. It's his. It doesn't belong to the kohen anymore. And now it's not truma anymore. So therefore, you just pay the eitzim because all you could do with it is to burn it. Ha'oichel b'shoisei mitztarfin. Achila and shti is not mitztarf. Man Tana, who's the Tana says that oichel kaisevis is not mitztarf to the shti of Mali Lagmav. So Amrav Chisda, Machloikis Shinuya, it's a famous Machloikis. Rabbi Yeshua, he did nan, Klal Om Rabbi Yeshua, it's a Mishnah in Mila, Kol Shetumasai Ushirei Shavan, anything that it's Tuma and its share is equal. So, for example, if Tuma's share is equal, let's say you have 2 half zaysim, or of a mace, or 2 pieces of nevela, or two lentils. So they're mitzdarif. The Tumah of a sheretz is only to the evening, and the share of the ash is equal. A mace is 7 days, and 2 kazayas of a mace. So you have a half azayas. So kol shetumasav shiur shavim, the type of tumah and the amount of tumah of eat shavim mitzdarfin, double mitzdarf. Tumasai v'loy shiuroi, the tumah is equal, but the share is not equal. Let's say a sheretz and nevela, guys. The tumah is equal because why? It's only tumah's erev. But the share of a lentil, the share of a sheretz is adasha, is a lentil, and the share of nevela is kazayas. So the length of tumah is equal, but the share is different. Or shiuroi v'loy tumasai. Let's say the share is equal, but the tumah is not. A kazayas of a mace, guys, a half a zayis of a mace and half a zayis of nevela. So their share is equal, but the tum is not, because the mace is 7 days and the nevela is tumas erev. Loy tumas of loy shiuroi, neither one, right? Let's say it's a sheretz and a mace. So neither one is equal. A mitzdarfen, they would not be mitzdarfen. So therefore, this over. So that would be Rabbi Yeshua. So this is Rabbi Yeshua. So Rabbi Yeshua would say a mitzdarfen, but the Chachamim hold as mitzdarfen, holding our Mishnah also by Yom Kippur that the achil and shtir would be mitzdarf. Rav Nachman Amar no. I feel it Rabban. You could even say on Mishnah by Yom Kippur even though they argue by Tumah, even though they are by Shurim, whether it's the mitzdarif, by Yom Kippur they would agree it's mitzdarif. I can't like Rabban and Haslam El Inyan Tumah, the same Tumah Chadhu. You know why they hold that it's mitzdarif? Because we want to mitama you. Shem Tumah, so it's different what? Different Hechatimtzes of Tumah. Oh, but they're all Tameh. But over here, the Isser is whether it's going to go ahead and take the edge off. If it's not going to do the job. If you eat a little bit, drink a little bit of wine, of Mali Lagmav, and you eat a piece of meat that's less than a kseves, it's not going to even starve. Why? Because that's not going to go ahead, and you still won't be over on Leisuuna. The same thing, that same dialogue, different person. That nan klalo Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Yochanan I feel tamer rabbanan. I'd kind of like rabbanan haslan elian tuma because shem tuma chadu doesn't say that. Al hachim mishum yisuvidaitahu the high and combining a drink and a solid food like kames v'daita. It's not going to go in one and combine together. Can I